Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're happy to have such an exciting and smiling group on the last day of April. It's hard to believe, but April has flown by and we're on the verge of May Day. So um, spring is, I hope, sprung where you are. Um, Welcome. Again, my name is Doug Dixon. I'm co-founder and secretary of the Encore Network. And the lucky host for this session on Coffee Chat on Resilience. I just wanted to say a couple of words about this as in the context of the series of coffee chats that we've been offering this year on the topic, broadly speaking, of healthy aging. And we started the year with a focus on kind of overall health. We've talked about brain health. We've talked about languishing. We've talked about social connection. We've talked about happiness. And today we're going to talk about resilience. Next month, or actually in early June, I think it's June 4th, we're going to be talking about movement and the limitations, the unknowing limitations that sometimes those of us who are older place on our ability to be active in our lives. So more to come on this broad topic of healthy aging. It's important because there's a link between healthy aging and Encore. Encore is both a predictor of healthy aging because through engagement, purpose, meaning, connection, it allows us to continue to be involved and to contribute to our economy, to society, to our communities. But there's also a reverse effect as well. Even if you're not totally healthy in the way that we think about it, free of disease and disability, engagement still is helpful as a tool in managing health. So there's a very intimate connection, and one that I think is helpful for us all to think about, particularly as we talk about a topic like resilience. And we're very fortunate to have two experts in our midst, Eileen Caroscio and Jan Zacharjasz, who are coaches who specialize in resilience, among other things. And it's my pleasure now to introduce Eileen and Jan.
Thank you, Doug, for inviting us here. I just want to say welcome to all of you here, the Coffee Chat on resilience and enhancing your edge in times of change. Before introducing ourselves and beginning our chat, we want you to know that this is going to be interactive, so we'll be asking some questions as we go along. Jan and I both will be doing mini presentations, and then we'll present a tool, and then we'll ask some questions. And then we'll have a good 10 to 15-minute breakout session for further engagement. And Jan and I have both a lot of experience with facilitating workshops on resilience and client work. And we feel that providing an overview theme of the past, the present, and future will offer you the best format for understanding. So I will cover the past, Jan will cover the present and future. So that's our setup for today. So now that I've said that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Eileen Caroscio. I'm a multi-certified coach. I help people, individuals and couples design their next life chapter to include all those challenges and opportunities that can and do pop up. I'm also a registered nurse, and I'm a co-author of the best-selling book, Midlife, New Life, Living Consciously in Midlife and Beyond. Now, the reason I share with the book, is there's a variety of adversities that show up on our life journey as we age, and our book walks you through many of them. Each chapter supports your resilience, and our last chapter, entitled Bouncing Forward, is dedicated all to resilience. So we're raffling off our book today and other goodies. So please stay with us until the end to ensure that you may be a winner today. So I'm going to Jan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi. Thank you again, Eileen. Thanks so much. I am Jan Zacharjasz, and I'm a professional certified coach and the principal of Coaching for Resilience. And I help people in mid to later life effectively manage change, loss, and the associated stresses that come with that with confidence and resilience so they can move forward and thrive again. And I provide individual life coaching services as well as resilience skill development workshops. I see a couple of my people are here in the audience. And I also do life purpose and energy assessments. So as Eileen said today, I'll be focusing on where you are now with your resilience and some specific ways that you can strengthen your resilience going forward. So now I'll turn it back over to Eileen.
Okay, and so we're going to share our slides with you. And here we go. And I need to put this back up here, and there we go. So this is our cover slide, and then now we're in the chat. And there is the past, present, and future. And maybe you can identify with some of these things that are happening because there's a lot going on this slide. There's divorce, there's disability, there's death, there is global unrest. There is a lot going on. Death. There's a lot of D's. But most of these things have to deal with a loss. And we are older, we have some life experience, so there's a lot of things that we can bring forward from our past. Let's see here. We're just going to move this forward. So let's zoom in. Let's see why we need.
You have got a referral, okay?
So let's zoom in and look at what is our need for resilience. What causes it? And what causes it is change. Change it is at the bottom, the core. It changes our status quo. Sometimes we see it coming, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it happens suddenly. There can be a heart attack. There can be a death. In Baltimore, the Francis Scott Key Bridge came tumbling down. No one saw it coming, and that people have to deal with that. So things can happen very suddenly. Things can happen gradually. Hey, I'm going to the doctor every 3 months, but now it's every month, and then it's getting to be every week. These are things that you can think about, that you can maybe do something about. Things can happen all at once. So you could, lose your job, you could lose your partner, and then your daughter from college wants to live home. And we often call this lifequake, and that term was from Bruce Feiler, Life is in the Transition. That's his book. So there's a lot of different things about change, but they impact us. And also decisions. If a change occurs and you didn't choose it, you didn't choose the divorce, it's going to feel very different to you. If you have corporate downsizing and you didn't choose to change your job. So transition is the process of adapting to change. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And that allows us to be more patient with ourselves. And there's 3 phases of transition, and these were put forth by William Bridges. And you may all remember this fella. He has this famous book called Transitions. It was out in the 1980s. It's still very relevant. So these phases, the ending, it could be, divorce. It could be the end of your very healthy self in some ways, where you have some disease or disability that's affecting you, but it can be that ending. And then there's the neutral zone, where you don't know, like, should I go left? Should I go right? You feel like you're in a maze. There's a lot going on in the neutral zone. And then the new beginning, where you have reflected, you have worked through some of the challenges, and you have kind of redrawn your future. And so that neutral zone sounds like really mild, but it's really considered the messy middle, and it's uncomfortable. You feel like the world is just passing you by. You feel like oftentimes you're isolated. You're the only one maybe going through this. You don't want to open your eyes because you don't want to know what you're going to see next. And you are putting out fires. Oftentimes you might feel like you're a hot mess. This is the downside of the messy middle. However, the upside is that there's possibilities here. This is a fertile ground for reimagining your life. And so we have, a sketchboard there on the right-hand side. And so you can put whatever you want on there. It's not an empty sketch pad. You have knowledge, skills, abilities, relationships that you can draw upon. You can put more on, you can take things off. But the upside is you're not really a hot mess. You are a hot pot of possibilities is another way to reframe that and see what emerges. Who's the new person emerging? Um, okay. Oops. So, what is resilience? Well, it's the ability to adapt well to adversity. And so you may be wondering, well, what does that mean, adapt well? And it means to adjust to these changes and challenging. So you're not putting your head in the sand, you're not ignoring it, you're not ignoring your health signals that say I need to go to the doctor. You're addressing the changes. You're recovering and your ability to move forward or bounce forward from the situation. And you're not the same person. And I don't know if you know this guy, but he's a Japanese writer. He has a wonderful quote, and that his name is Haruki. Um, I can't think of his last name right right now. Murakami. Anyhow, he says you're not the same person that walks out of the storm as the person walked in. And the reason for that is because you've grown, you've integrated your old ways with new ways of being and doing and all the knowledge and wisdom that you've accumulated. And with that knowledge comes the resilience effect. So in our book, the Midlife New Life book, we interviewed more than 50 people, and there was all these categories we had. We had your finance, your relationship, your personal growth, your health, your career. And people told us these stories. We had long interviews with these people. And what they told us that, hey, it was kind of like hell in the hallway, but they got through the other side and they said they were jubilant, they were happy, they felt like they were had mastery of their situation. And so person after person that we interviewed said, happy, jubilant. And we thought, that's an effect. And so we coined the term the resilience effect. And we know as we're older that we have a lot of experience. There's a lot that we know. And so this is our tool number one. It's resilience building tool. It's a harvest tool that you can use to get all of your strengths, your knowledge, your skills, your abilities, your relationships, and put it all down. For this tool, we're not going to ask you to do the tool right now because it takes thought. I give this to clients after classes and they work on it. But there's a timeline, it's 10 years, and you put on the bottom your adversity. Is it a disease? Is it a death? That whatever that one or two words your adversity is, and then all the supports. Maybe it's family, maybe it's friends, maybe you had a dog, or you developed a hobby. These are things for you to think about. So I'm going to stop the sharing, and I want to ask you what in a couple people to share. What are some of the adversities that you yourself have had, and what have brought you through? If anybody, any brave soul that wants to put in the chat what it is, or maybe raise their hand. And then there is crickets, but well, while we're waiting for people to put that in, because we're just kind of like springing that on you, and it takes time to think these through. This is why we don't have you doing the whole 10 years now. Um,
Diane
okay,
is
so
saying that she is in the middle of a job loss.
mhm,
Um, Seth is in the middle of a job transition, also the death of a parent. Um, Jonathan also is in a job transition. Um, Someone who's dealing with a health issue, a brain tumor. Uh,
mm,
Also, loss of a big brother, having to move with 2 months warning, loss of a pet.
mhm. These are all very significant, and it's how you feel yourself about this particular thing. And I did see in the chat that some people had said talking with friends helped, doing movement, skiing, community volunteering, and looking at, what has got you through. Um, so this is good, and continue, to share these things, because we certainly grow our wisdom when we share with each other. There's a lot of things coming through now. Pottery. Wow, this could be something for a whole new class, Jan, or presentation. Okay, thank you very, very much for this. I'm going to go back to sharing. We have a big group here. Let's do this, and we'll move on to the summation that the antidote to managing all these changes, the things that might show up, is resilience. So Jan now is going to take the baton and talk about present and future.
Okay, great. Thank you, Eileen. Thanks for taking us down memory lane and looking at how we may have handled adversity in the past, unexpected change in both the past and that's going on now. And so, as Eileen said, now we're going to focus on where you are now with your resilience and how you can further develop your resilience for whatever lies ahead in the future. So I've got a question for you, and I'm going to ask you to put your response down on the chat. So how many of you think that you're either born resilient or you're not? So it's innate. So how many people think that resilience is innate? I'm going to jot that down into the chat. And for some reason, not seeing the chat now. Don't know why that is.
We have a mix of responses.
Mhm.
About half are saying innate and half are saying not innate.
Okay, very good. How many of you think that you can learn to be resilient, that it's a learnable thing?
Lots of yeses.
Lots of yeses. Great. Okay. Well, the good news is both are correct. We are all born with certain traits or strengths to greater or lesser extents. And we also all have the ability to learn how to strengthen these strengths. So that's what we're really going to focus on today, how to strengthen your resilience muscles. I like to look at them as muscles. So again, I look at resilience as an emotional muscle. And again, good news, you can learn to be resilient at any time, no matter what you've struggled through in the past, and no matter how young or old you are. But just like any other muscle, you need to practice using these muscles to strengthen your resilience so you can be ready the next time an unexpected change or loss lands on your doorstep. So I'm going to be sharing another tool so you can become aware, number one, of what your resilience muscles are. Two, so you can be more intentional about using them. And three, be better prepared to take active steps before, during, and after a crisis to speed up your emotional recovery. And the work or model that we're going to discuss here today is based on positive psychology, the work of Dr. Martin Seligman out of the University of Pennsylvania. And Seligman uncovered 24 character traits that we all have. We're all born with them, but just in greater or lesser quantities. And in contrast to abnormal psychology, which is based on an illness model, positive psychology is based on the premise of strengthening the traits or strengths or muscles you already have to address life issues and adversity. Okay, so based on, and we'll go on to the next slide. Based on additional work out of the University of Pennsylvania, 9 of these character traits, 9 out of the 24, have been identified for developing and enhancing resilience, particularly as we age. So, just like today's pregnant women have reveal parties for the sex of their babies, we're going to have a reveal party and reveal your 9 resilience muscles to you. Your 9 resilience muscles to you. And they are something that you all have inside of you and that you've been carrying, I assure you, for more than 9 months. And so we're going to do an exercise so you can determine where you're already strong and which traits would be beneficial for you to strengthen further. So I want to ask you to grab a pencil and a paper for this exercise. And in a moment, I'm going to do a quick review of the definition of these traits. So the 9 traits, you can see them on this wheel here, and I want to assure you that you are going to receive this wheel as a handout once you get the recording from this session. But for today's purposes, as I describe each one of these traits, I want to ask you to write down the trait, and you can see the traits are listed on the left, and they're on the circle as well. And as I describe each of these, I want you to write down the name of the trait and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on your current level of satisfaction with each of these skills. So the rating system is 1 is no satisfaction at all. It is not me at all. To 10, utmost satisfaction, that you are very, very thrilled that you really are doing very well with this particular trait. Okay, so makes sense. And again, we're going to keep these names up as I go through the definitions. Okay, so the first one is creativity, which we're going to define for our purposes of thinking of novel and productive ways to conceptualize and do things. So it's your ability to kind of think out of the box. So go ahead and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being highest, of how satisfied you are with your current level of creativity. Okay. The next one is open-mindedness. And this enables you to compare and evaluate different viewpoints and adjust your views accordingly. So this ties in with how non-judgmental you are, how open are you to new ideas and solutions, how solutions-oriented are you? Okay, so again, go ahead and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 about your open-mindedness, 1 being the lowest rating and 10 being the highest. The next trait is perspective or wisdom. And what this is good judgment that enables you to address behavior and the meaning of life, provide wise counsel to others, and offer ways to view the world that makes sense. So in essence, it's your ability to kind of connect the dots and pull the pieces together based on your experience and your life lessons learned. Okay, so go ahead and rate yourself on the scale of 1 to 10. The next trait is social intelligence. And this has to do with being aware of the motives and feelings of others and yourself, and knowing how to fit into different kinds of situations. So again, think of this as your flexibility, your degree of flexibility, your intuition, how adaptable you are, and your savvy. How comfortable are you in a variety of different situations? Okay, so go ahead and rate yourself. Now, the fifth trait is persistence, also defined as perseverance and finishing what one starts despite obstacles. And what's really important is taking pleasure in getting the job done. So again, this has to do with your follow through. How well do you follow through, and your accountability? So again, rate yourself on that scale of 1 to 10. All right. Our sixth resilience muscle is self-regulation. And that is your degree of self-control or self-discipline. And really being able to control what you feel or do versus flying off the handle. So how would you rate yourself on your self-regulation? The next one is hope or optimism. And this is your ability to be future-minded and expecting the best of the future and working to achieve it and believing that the best can really be realized. So I like to look at this as kind of your positive energy. So rate yourself on your optimism or your hope here. The eighth trait is humor, which is playfulness, laughter, and it's a way of dealing with adversity by making it amusing. That's what actually a lot of comedians do. They make adversity funny. It's ways to create and enjoy incongruities, and humor is a fabulous stress buster. So go ahead and rate yourself on your humor. And finally, the ninth trait is spirituality. This has to do with your faith, your sense of purpose, having coherent beliefs about the higher purpose and meaning of life, and where one fits into all that. Your spirituality, your purpose shapes your behavior, it provides comfort, and it really has to do with your being able to go beyond concern for just yourself and tap into that other realm that's as a part of our world as well. Okay, so, all right, so now what I'd like to do, so what does your wheel tell you? I'm going to, as I said, you're going to receive your wheel when you get the recording. But what you're going to do is the wheel actually gives you a graphic representation of where you are with your resilience currently. So I'm just going to show you what mine happens to look like and what you'll be able to do. You're going to take your ratings and plot it out on the wheel, and then connect your dots and see where you're strong, where you're weaker, and get that visual sense. But for today, here I'm going to share the scoring mechanism with you so that you can get a handle of where are you falling right now. So any trait where you scored yourself between a 7 and 10, that's a high rating, a high rating, and you're in pretty good shape with that trait. But with resilience, even if you are at a 9 or 10, there's always room to enhance. For any traits where you're rated a 4 to 6, excuse me, those would be areas where you might want to make some moderate improvements there. And then finally, for those traits that you may have been rated yourself 1 to 3, those are lower ratings, and it would be a good idea to pay some more attention to those traits in terms of helping to strengthen your resilience. Now, in my A Shot of Resilience workshop series, that's a 6-week series, and actually have 2 others that follow that, what we do is we take a deep dive and practice developing each of these skills. We hit them one by one each week via exercises, hands-on exercises, assignments, and group discussion. But today our goal really is to get you grounded and oriented to what these traits are and have some conversation about them. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up some breakout groups, and there'll be 3 people per group. And while Erin is setting up the groups for us, I'm going to review what we're going to do. the first thing I'm going to ask each person to do is, and Eileen, can you advance the screen? Oh, there we go. So the first thing is I'd like each of you to take about a minute to share with the group your strongest trait or traits, your weakest resilience trait or traits, and the one trait you'd most like to improve, so that, in essence, if you did nothing else but make progress with this one trait from this whole presentation, you'd be thrilled. Okay, so strongest, weakest, and one trait you'd really like to improve. And so you'll do a quick go around on that. Next, then you're going to select as a group a couple of the questions that you'd like to discuss and plan on spending about 3 minutes per question. Also, I'd like to ask you to nominate or somebody volunteer to be a spokesperson to highlight your group's discussion of one of the questions when we resume. So here are the questions that they're going to be addressing. They're in the chat right now, and you might want to jot these down. Unfortunately, these questions don't follow you through into the chat, so I'm going to read them out, and feel free to jot down a few notes. So the first one is, in what areas are you most open-minded? The second is, how have you used humor to deal with stress? The third is, who is a positive role model for persistence for you? The fourth is, how has your social intelligence changed over time? And the fifth is to share about the wisest person you know. Okay. So, all right. Are we ready to get into the groups? With the groups, we're going to spend about 10 minutes. Let me see how we're doing on time. Okay, I think we're doing well. So we'll spend about 10 minutes in the group for discussion, and then we'll get back together and do some debriefing.
Welcome back. Some people want to share a little bit about what that was like and what you were able to find out, and some of those questions that Jan had.
Who our brave souls are.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed my group.
Yeah. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Tiara was going to be the spokesperson for our group.
Yes, I'm here.
Go for it, Tiara.
Can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
So can you highlight one discussion of what you might have learned about one of the traits as you chatted?
Just for myself or for the group, for the entire group?
For the group, or if it's easier to speak for yourself, that's okay as well.
Honestly, I think I enjoyed talking with my group. It showed me, and no matter what stage and age you are at your life, there's always room to grow. And I listened to everybody's input as far as I know for myself, it was, what did I mention? Self-regulation. I had shared with them that I was in a car accident about 2 years ago, and I just got cleared about 6 weeks ago from the accident. And I explained to them how I had to, I never imagined arguing with medical professionals to get the right care for myself. It's something that, they reminded me and told me, that's just something, the ways of the world sometimes, where I looked at it as a bad trait, Doug pointed out, no, that shows resiliency.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
But it was also nice, like I said, it was nice speaking with the gentleman, and they, the one gentleman spoke about how he had to learn how to ask for help more. And that's something I can identify with as well.
Fabulous.
So to learn how to be able to be more open to be able to receive help.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right. Thank you, Tiara. How about we'll take one more? How about Norman?
One comment that I made in our group was, I have found that, at least in my example, I have learned a lot of resilience just through the experiences that I've had over life. And I'm wondering for the people who either are younger or people who have had less opportunities to adjust to things, is there a better way to deal with things where you haven't had to go through your own transitions? I mean, most of us have transitions at some point, but some of us, I think, more than others. And strangely enough, the people who have had more of them, I would think, are probably better suited to deal with future transitions because they know they've managed to deal with what's happened in the past.
Mm-hmm. Fabulous. Great. Well, I invite others to put down a note in the chat, any of your comments or observations. That would be helpful to us. And I'm glad that this, generated some great discussion for each of the groups. All right, we're going to switch gears back. So trying to keep us on top of our timeline here. And let's go back to sharing the slides, and we're going to take a look at some other strategies for managing change, particularly as we age. Okay, so we're talking about resilience. So how do you actually become resilient when faced with an unexpected change that turns your world upside down? So I'm going to review some simple strategies that you can tap into easily, in addition to the work that Eileen and I have suggested that take a little bit more time to drill down on. So the first step really is to ask yourself, where am I now? Some new upset has landed on your shoulders. Where am I now? And how do I feel now? And then ask yourself, well, where do I want to be? And how do I want to feel? So for example, I'm exhausted and I feel anxious and just behind on everything. Where I want to be well rested and feel calm so I can be on top of things again and be more productive. So by taking this stance, you're able to create a vision or get clarity for yourself. When you're able to take that step to define where is it you want to be and how is it that you want to feel, you're actually much more likely to get there. Okay, so creating a vision helps to create the path for that. Secondly, let's talk about the law of expansion. And what this has to do with is whatever you're focusing on gets bigger. So I'll give you an example. Say you're buying a new car and you're driving and you've pretty much decided you want to get a Honda Accord. You're driving down the highway and you look off to your right and you say, oh, there's the silver color. That's really sharp. I really like that color. Driving a little further, then you see, well, there's the sport model. That's a very zippy model. And oh, there's the hybrid over there. And all of a sudden, it seems like every other car on the highway is a Honda Accord. Have you ever had that kind of feeling before, that experience? What it's about is it's in your environment, and it's because what you're focusing on, it brings it up into your consciousness. And this law of expansion applies to both good things as well as bad things. So on the bad side, if let's say you're unhappy with your job, and you focus on everything that's wrong with your job and how they hate the boss and the hours are lousy and the conditions are terrible, how do you think you're going to show up on your job? And conversely, on the good side of things, let's say you have a brand new grandson, like I do, who's 4 weeks old right now. And all I can tell you is he's the most precious, precocious, adorable thing that's ever set foot on this earth. And we can't see anything wrong. Everything is right about, something that we love that way. So what's key here is that by shifting your mindset and focusing on where you want to go and the feelings you want to have, versus focusing on where you're stuck, you can refocus your future and design a new life for yourself. And again, if you haven't taken any notes, I'm going to suggest you write this one down because it really captures this. It's life grows where your focus goes. And this gives you, by adopting this gives you a tremendous amount of power Because no matter what your circumstances are, and Lord knows many of us have had incredibly challenging circumstances to deal with in our lives. But regardless of your circumstances, you have choice of where you focus your attention. That control you always have. All right, now, moving on to cultivating connections. High quality relationships are absolutely critical to resilience. They require active engagement with others and help to stave off isolation and depression. And there have been a ton of studies done that show that that social connectedness is actually one of the top factors contributing to longevity as we age. And interestingly, even in many cases, it's even a stronger predictor of your longevity than your genetic predispositions. So the outtake here, stay close to your go-to people. Seek new friendships. It's important also to be able to make new friendships as you get older. And limit your involvement with the Debbie Downers of your life. The next one is expressing gratitude. And again, being grateful is the top predictor, believe it or not, of overall well-being. And there are a ton of physical and emotional benefits associated with gratitude. There's scientific research that shows that gratitude stimulates two regions of the brain, one that regulates stress and one that produces feelings of pleasure. So when you express gratitude, you're actually expressing it physically, and it increases your positive feelings as a result of those brain functions. So, easy thing to do, keep a gratitude journal. Ideally write it down, 3 things you're grateful for each morning. Easy to do, costs nothing. So, it's what do you have to lose, really? And then finally, the 5th one here is taking care of yourself. Give yourself permission to turn off, refill your tank, turn off the news and social media from time to time. Not saying be ignorant of it all, but tone it down, put parameters on the trials. It helps you to put parameters on the trials of the world. Watch a comedy instead of a tragedy or a drama. Your body is really your vehicle in which you ride through life. And like your car, if you don't maintain your health, you're less likely to get to where you want to go and be successful in life. So some simple strategies. So a couple of takeaways here. As Eileen pointed out to us, we all have years of life lessons learned that support our resilience muscles. So use your resilience building timeline to harvest them. Okay. So you can be kind of your own role model to yourself. Resilience is learnable at all stages and all ages. And like any muscle, it takes practice to strengthen it. So use your wheel of resilience and lean into your strongest traits during change. The third one here is to stay connected with your go-to people and continue to cultivate old relationships and friendships and new ones. And finally, as I said, life grows where your focus goes. The choice is yours of where you choose to focus your attention. So before we go for Q&A, let me just turn this back to Eileen for a minute. And she's going to talk to you about our raffle. And then
So thank you, Jan, for bringing us into the present and future, into the present moment. We're glad that you all stayed with us for the raffle. So that book there, Midlife, New Life, you need to, if you want to win it, you have to choose a number between 1 and 100. There is a pre-selected number that Doug Dixon has chosen. And if you put that number in the chat, Doug will look at that and get the number. If someone has the same number, I will share a signed copy to both of you.
I'm saying
So while
Yeah,
you're doing that, I want to also alert you, make you aware that I'm giving a 3-day class at the Chautauqua Institution in New York. This is July 28th through 30th, and in our follow-up, you'll get information more on that. But it's also about personalized resilience, and it is very dedicated to building your plan. How are we doing on the numbers? I know there's a lot coming through here.
Oh, good. Well,
That's Jan. Why don't you go ahead while
okay, I'll go ahead while we continue. Those numbers continue to come in. Three things I want to mention to you. One is I mentioned my Shot of Resilience workshop, which is a 6-week workshop for focused exercises and practice to develop each resilience skill. So if you're interested in exploring that and going on the waiting list, write your email in the chat and write down wait list. The second thing is that I offer a free weekly newsletter with tips and strategies further developing your resilience and positive aging. If you'd like to receive that, it's a little shot of resilience that in your inbox once a week. Again, put your email in the chat and write next to it newsletter. And third, I want to make available to everybody the opportunity to have a free 1-hour consultation with me if you would like to have some individualized attention on some issues that you may be going through. So if you're interested in that, again, put your name and email and then put consultation, and then we'll do some follow-up, and we'll make sure to follow up for you with these goodies. All right, and let me go with. Shall I do our closing quote, or how are we doing with the numbers?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do our closing quote, and then we want to refer back to Doug Dixon, who has some updates to give you, and we'll make sure we have time for Doug to do that.
Got it. So I'll leave you with the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new, and that was from Socrates. So we want you to remember that resilience really is your edge in times of change. And going forward, our wish for you is to be courageous, confident, and resilient in the face of unexpected change, because life grows where your focus goes.
So thank you both to Jan and Eileen. And the number, you can see this, was 26, and the lucky winner is Gail Liebhaber with 27.
Wow.
Congratulations, Gail. And thank you all. We don't have time for announcements, but we will be sending information out in the next 2 or 3 days, probably early next week, given the fact that we're on Thursday. And you'll receive the recording, all of the information that Jan and Eileen has shared about their resources and about the offerings, the upcoming events that they're involved in. And we'll also tell you about some of the upcoming events from the Encore Network. The one I do want to mention is on May 20th. That is with Helen Hirsch Spence, who is publishing her new book called Reset. And she's asking us to think about the provocative question, what would your life look like if ageism had not shaped your path? And I have to tell you, I had not thought about things this way. And it's a very interesting question. She's going to be leading us through a conversation about that and what we can do about it. So don't miss that. And there are lots of other events as well. Thanks to all of you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at a future event.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day, guys.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
You too.
Thanks, Candice.